A very good morning to everyone present here for the free training on OpManager today. I welcome you all on behalf of Manage Engine to the third part of the training this season. So before we get started, kindly confirm whether everyone is able to hear my voice as well as able to see the presentation on the screen. You can provide your confirmation by commenting in the webinar chat panel. So once we get few confirmations, we'll proceed with our training right away. I can see some of the confirmations. I hope it's the same with all the attendees today. So let's take this confirmation as as a step and we'll proceed with our training. My name is Shrikant and I'm one of the product experts from Manage Engine. I work as a technical support engineer who handles product support, training and implementation. I'm going to be the presenter for today's webinar. I'll take you through the topics for the day. So this is the training schedule that we have already discussed about. I hope everyone is familiar with this training schedule. We are already done with the two parts of this training. So let me do a quick recap on those sessions. So in the first part of the training, we discussed about adding the device and how to automate the discovery process, along with the challenges a user come across while trying to add the device. Apart from that, we also discussed about few real-time use cases while adding the device into OpManager for monitoring. And in the second part of the training, we had a discussion on monitoring the performance of servers, which included physical, virtual, as well as storage servers. Apart from that, we also had a discussion on URL monitors, file and folder monitors, and script monitoring. So in case if you have missed any part of the training, don't worry, we have already uploaded the videos in the link that you get to see on my screen. You can access the link and have a look at the videos. The today's topic is going to be monitoring network performance and network maps, followed by the next week's topic, which is the last topic for this training season, which is on fault management and IT automation. So like I said, this is the topic for today's webinar session, which is monitoring network performance and network maps. And the agenda for today's training is going to be monitoring network performance. Then we'll be discussing about monitoring the hardware sensors, followed by creating the custom SNMP monitors in OpManager. Then we'll be discussing about monitoring the IPSLA metrics, that is WAN and VoIP links. And in the end, the last topic, it's network maps. So in case if you have any questions in between the session, I recommend you to raise your question in the chat panel because we do have a set of panelists sitting along with us. They'll be able to answer your questions. And in the end, we'll be discussing few of the interesting questions as a question and answer sessions. So before we hop into the training itself, let me give you an overview of the protocols that OpManager will be using to monitor the network performance. So when it comes to the performance metrics such as the CPU memory temperature, OpManager uses SNMP protocol. When it comes to the Cisco UCS, we use the UCS API. And for the network devices such as the printer, UPS, firewalls, OpManager will be using the SNMP protocol. And for the WAN and VoIP, which is the voice over the IP address, which is an IPSLA protocol, and it's exclusive for Cisco devices. I recommend you to configure the SNMP on the network devices to avoid any communication loss while trying to perform the monitoring on network devices. So with this, we'll move on to the first topic of the day, that is monitoring network performance. OpManager allows you to monitor almost every network devices in your network. So we do have certain set of examples listed here, say router, switch, firewall, and printer. So these are some of the example monitors also associated to them. Apart from that, in OpManager, we get to offer you a lot more than the examples that I have listed here. So when it comes to the network performance, you can do the basic performance monitoring such as the CPU memory usage and also the device associated. Like if you take a router here, you might be able to monitor the temperature or the router characteristics performance metrics, which are exclusive for router type devices. And similarly, when it comes to the printer, we offer you to monitor the printer related metrics such as the paper jam, low paper, no paper, or in case if you're running out of a toner or ink, you can use the low toner or no toner monitor to perform a monitoring on that. So let me take you to the OpManager UI and show you how to configure the network performance metrics. So this is the OpManager UI we have here. In order to access the network devices, I recommend you to click on the network here and choose all devices. So it will list out all the network devices that you are monitoring in OpManager currently. And you can see that we have a router here. So let's take an example of a router device, and you'll be clicking on the router name will take you to the router snapshot page or router summary page. On the device summary page, you will be able to see the availability statistics, but the today's topic is going to be the performance metrics. So just we'll be switching to the monitors icon. So in order to access the performance metrics, you just have to click on monitors where you get to see the associated monitors. So these are the default monitors which were fetched at the time of discovery and were inherited from the device template itself. So in case if you like to add more monitors globally, you can directly add it from the device template, or you can just simply click on this add icon available on the top right of your page and choose performance metrics. So it will be able to, OpManager will be able to fetch the monitors which are associated for this device category, and you will be able to choose among the list of monitors available. So you can just choose the monitors as per your requirement and add them by clicking on add icon here. So once you click on this add, you'll be able to see the monitors available here. And for configuring the thresholds, you just need to do the edit icon available under actions. So this edit icon will open the edit monitor page where you get to configure the information such as the interval, units, as well as the thresholds for utilizations. So once you have configured the thresholds, you'll be able to raise an alarm for every resource violation that happens in your end device, and OpManager will be able to notify you on that. And other actions that are available is that the graph icon, which allows you to view the graph stat details in a graphical format for all the monitors that the data has been collected over a time. And all this information can be exported in the form of reports for your future reference. You can also fetch the current value by clicking on this desk monitor icon, which will fetch the current value right away from the device and let you know the information. And in case if you like to remove a monitor, you can just click on this delete icon, and for removing multiple monitors, just make sure that you select the monitors and you do have access to remove the monitors in case if you have added any wrong monitor for into the device. So this is going to be the same with all type of devices that we have, and same is the scenario with the devices such as these firewalls, switches, or even the printers. And another type of network performance monitoring that we offer from the OpManager end is the interface monitoring. So interface monitoring is completely based on the SNMP protocol. So like kindly make sure that the device is configured with SNMP and the port on the firewall is open for the SNMP, which is 161. So when it comes to the monitoring the interfaces in OpManager, we offer you to monitor all these metrics. That is the one of bandwidth usage, which is also the utilization of interface, errors and discard rates flowing through the interface, and received and transmitted traffic. You also can monitor the total bytes received as well as the total bytes transferred, and there is also an option for monitoring the real-time interface monitors. And all these configuration can also be done globally so that you can have access to associate whatever the configuration you make can be done to an entire type of interface, which is like enable and disabling monitoring to for specific interface type, or also you can also configure the monitoring interval. So basically it's like the global configuration for a specific interface type. With the help of interface templates, you can also associate these configuration based on the thresholds, that is for utilization, errors and discards to a certain set of interfaces or all interfaces, or for a specific set of interface groups. And you do also have an option for enabling and disabling interface status polling. So when it comes to the status polling, probably there are certain interfaces that you are monitoring in OpManager might not require an availability statistic. So you can just disable the availability statistic, keeping the utilization errors and discard live, and monitoring. So let me take you to the OpManager UI and show you how to configure the interface. So here we are on the OpManager UI. So in order to access the interface template, which is for global configuration, I recommend you to click on the edit settings. Under the settings, can switch to the configuration. So under the configuration, you can see that we do have interface templates. So interface templates, we do have set of predefined interface templates, out of which let us take an example for Ethernet type. So you can see that this is the global configuration for Ethernet type interfaces, where you can configure the monitoring interval as well as the thresholds for utilization, errors, and discards. So once you have configured it, you can just make sure that you enable it or disable the status poles and based on your requirement, and save and apply it. So once you click on save and apply, it will take you to the next page where you can choose between the interfaces that you would like to associate these configurations. So you can either apply to all the interfaces, or it can be applied only for a certain interfaces in that template, or it should be applied to all the interfaces in a particular group. So once you have associated it, all you need to do is just click on save. Based on the configuration that you have done, we have configured for the utilization, and now we'll click on save. So once you have done this, the interface template will be applied based on the interfaces that you have selected. And for device specific, you can just view it under the device by clicking on network devices. Let us take this router device. On the device summary page, if you scroll down a little bit, you'll be able to see the interfaces that are associated. Usually the interfaces are fetched at the time of discovery itself, but in case if it's not available, I recommend you to perform a discovery of the interfaces right away from the device summary page by clicking on this icon. So once you have discovered it, you will be able to see them here. And for viewing more information on an interface, I recommend you click on an interface which has the data. And here on the interface summary page, you'll be able to see the summary of complete detailed statistics. So what are the speed, what is the traffic counter, and what type of interfaces is. On the same page, you'll be able to get to see the availability statistics along with the receive as well as the transmit. For configuring more information or configuring our existing information, you just have to click on this more icon on the top and choose the configure interface. Under the configure interface, you do have access for configuring multiple information, that is the traffic counter, which can be switched between 32 as well as 64, and in speed and outspeed. So let me explain you why do we need to configure in speed and outspeed. Because when you try to discover the interface, only during the initial discovery we'll be updating these information. So like in case over the time, your organization may involve a huge growth where you expand your interfaces to a huge from 1 gigs to 10 gigs of bandwidth. So in that case, instead of doing a deleting and re-adding the interface, I recommend you can configure it manually by clicking on the configuring interface. So once you have configured it to 1 gigs to 10 gigs, OpManager will be able to calculate the utilization, errors, and discards based on the traffic speed pool as well as the configured bandwidth here. For configuring the thresholds, I recommend you to switch to the next tab, that is for threshold settings, where again you get to configure the monitoring interval along with the thresholds for utilization, errors, and discards. And you do also get an option to enable or disable the status pole for this interface. So whatever the configuration that you get to do is on this page is exclusive for this one interface alone. Like unlike the configuration that we already discussed while doing it in interface template, which is for global configuration. And for viewing the router graphs, you can just click on this graphs icon and you can see the traffic. So you just have to choose one graph, say traffic graph, and you can sort it based on the time frame and schedule it as a report, or export it directly as a report in the format of PDF as well as CSV file for your future reference. So while discussing about the interface template, I came up with a word term called interface grouping. So what is exactly the interface grouping? Say in your environment, you are monitoring more than 10,000 or 20,000 interfaces using the OpManager. but you'll have to monitor some of the critical interfaces, say in a number of 50, which are very critical and you want to monitor them closely. So whatever they have a separate set of thresholds and they want a separate escalation matrix of notification profile and have to be handled with care. So how to sort all these interfaces which come from a different device or a different interface type? So we offer you something called interface grouping, which allows you to group the interfaces based on the site, department, as well as the customers. These are these just examples. In case if it's some branch, you can just simply create an interface group based on a branch also. And you can also have an access to configure the thresholds based on only for these interfaces within a group. And you can also do a dashboard which is specific for groups and subgroups, and these creating an interface group will allow you to filter based on the widgets as well as the report. So you, in like an example, you take a report of all utilization of an interface, but you want only for the critical interfaces that you have already marked as an interface group. So you can also filter a report based on these interface groups. So let me take you to the OpManager UI and show you how to configure an interface group. In order to create an interface group, you just have to go to the settings. Under the settings, you can switch to the configuration page. So under the configuration, you shall be able to see the groups here. Clicking on the groups will be able to show you the existing groups. So in case if you have not added, just click on this add icon and provide a group name. Say it a test with a description of having a name from a particular location. So say it California. And the next page is the criteria. So usually the group can be done on the basis of devices or an existing group or an interface. So here we'll be doing it for interface. By choosing the interface, you can configure the criteria, where I'll be using a criteria of interface name which contains Ethernet. So once I have configured the Ethernet, you just have to click on add, or you can also add multiple conditions to based on your requirement. So once you click on this next page, you will be able to see all the Ethernet interfaces that are currently being monitored, and you can just select the interfaces that you would like to create a group separately. I'll be choosing all of them at once and will click on save. So once I have created an interface group, you'll be able to see the group status here, and you can access the group by clicking on text, the name. So I have to click the test name to take you to the group summary page, where you get to view the details only related to those interfaces that you have created a group for. So along with the availability, the interface alarms, the interface list, all the information will be available. And you can also directly access these interface groups directly from the inventory groups. And for configuring the thresholds, like I said, you can just do it under the settings, configuration, interface templates, where we'll take an example of Ethernet for which we have already created and a group. So once you have configured a threshold, like I say, I'll be manipulating the threshold here and going for the save and apply, which allows me to choose a device based on the template or the group. So here I have selected a group and there are two interface groups available. So we'll be doing the changes for interface test. So I'll save it. So you can see that the interface template has been associated for the threshold configuration that I have made only for the interface that are available in that group. So with this, you can filter for thresholds as well as the reports. For reports also, you can also extract the same by clicking on the reports, health and performance reports, and where we have all interfaces by utilization, where you can filter it based on the category or report. So I hope it's clear for you. So you can just, we'll move on with our next topic for the day, that is monitoring hardware sensors. So in OpManager, we offer you to monitor the hardware sensor, which actually might be a useful feature when it comes to monitoring the devices. So by default, OpManager allows you to monitor the hardware for these four vendors, which is for Cisco, Juniper, Dell, and HP. We'll be bringing up furthermore vendors, but as of now, these are the only supported vendors. And the sensor categories that we support for monitoring is power, temperature, voltage, battery, disk array data, and fan. So take an example where you get to monitor a router whose CPU temperature is high due to the fan is not working. So how would you like to get informed instead of checking manually? So using OpManager's hardware monitoring, you can have brief information on what is the status of these temperature as well as the fan and take necessary actions when any failure happens. So in order to configure hardware monitoring, you just have to go to the settings. Under the system settings, you do have hardware monitor tab where you have multiple options, that is for enable hardware monitoring. One is for suppress hardware alarms and another one is for monitoring interval. And then all these information can be extracted that you get to monitor in hardware of OpManager as a report for your future reference. So let me take you to the OpManager UI and show you how to configure. In order to access, like I said, you just have to go to the settings. Under the settings, basic settings, system settings. So under the system settings, if you switch to that page, let me show you here, settings, system settings, you'll be able to see this hardware monitor tab. So under the hardware monitor tab, like you can see, we can see the parameters that were listed in the slide. So here we have the enable hardware monitoring, which will allow you to enable hardware monitoring for global devices, like all the devices at once. And you can also suppress the hardware alarms in case if you like to avoid confusion and have a silent notification when a hardware failure happens. And this monitoring interval is specific for hardware monitors, which can be globally configured. And whatever the configuration you make, if you would like to override for existing devices, you can just simply check this, or it will be only applicable for the devices that you will be adding in OpManager later. So once you have configured the hardware monitoring, let me take you to a device here and show you how exactly it's going to view in under the device summary page. So here we have a router for which we have already configured the hardware monitoring. So hardware monitoring is currently enabled, and for accessing the hardware monitoring, you just have to click on this more icon and choose hardware tab. So once you have selected the hardware tab, you'll be taken to the page where you get to see the hardware information related to this router. So on the left side, you have summary. On the right side, we have graph for the temperature as well as the voltage. And you can see the sensor information that I was talking about. So you can see the status of the fan, it's green. So there's no problem with the fan, as well as the voltage as well as temperature we have here, and all the conditions here seem to be normal. So in case of any problem that happens, the sensor color will change and you'll be getting an alarm accordingly with the severity of its alarm. And for extracting the report, you just have to go to the reports. You can search for the report globally by clicking on hardware inventory report, where you get to see the devices based on which the monitoring had happened over the time. And all this information can be extracted in the format of PDF as well as the CSV. And in case if you have created a device group based on that, you'll be able to sort them and you can extract only for necessary devices for this hardware inventory report. So I hope the hardware inventory report as well as the hardware monitoring was clear to you. With this, we'll move on to the next topic for today. It's creating a custom SNMP monitor. So by default, we offer you multiple number of monitors which are available under OpManager, and each as well as the vendor templates which offer you the vendor monitors. But there are certain situations where you might be finding difficulty or want to create a custom monitor which is not currently available with OpManager. Say an example, there is a CPU utilization monitor which has 8 cores, but by default the OpManager offers you something called a default SNMP CPU utilization monitor which fetches the combined value of all the 8 cores. So in case if you'd like to have a monitor which fetches you the information on individual instances which are the each individual cores of that CPU, how to achieve that? So you can achieve that task by creating a custom SNMP monitor. So how to create a custom SNMP monitor? We will require the certain prerequisites. So we have to follow the prerequisites here. Make sure that the device is enabled with the SNMP so that OpManager will have no difficulty accessing the device and fetch the information. And then we require the vendor MIP, which comprises of the SNMP object IDs. And all these need to be placed under the OpManager /MIP folders under your installation folder of application. So when I talk about the vendor MIPS, you probably be wondering what is a MIP file is. So MIP is management information base, which is actually a database of the entity of a device. So for example, take CPU being an entity of a now router which has 8 cores. So you can get the SNMP OID, which is the object ID, to fetch that particular CPU utilization from a router and compress that into this management information base file. So that's how it's going to be. So it's a management information base file is nothing but a file which comprises of all the entity information that can be used to access the device and fetch it accordingly. So how to obtain these MIP file? You can either check with the vendor website and download it, because certain vendor of the end devices have uploaded the MIPs for user-friendly access, or you can check with the support team of the corresponding end device and fetch the MIP file which comprises of the SNMP object IDs. And when it comes to the uploading the MIP files in OpManager, you can directly upload it from the OpManager UI, which I'll be showing you in the later session, or you can copy those files directly under the OpManager/MIP folder. So once you have all the prerequisites, you can directly proceed with creating a custom SNMP monitor. So here we have some of the few examples. So you can do mathematical operations using the custom monitor. It's like you have CPU utilization of multiple cores. You can just do a mathematical addition and fetch the appropriate information. Or you can also execute functional expressions such as the Celsius to Fahrenheit, kilobit to megabit, based on your requirement. And like I said, when we took an example of monitoring the individual instance of a CPU, we can also do that. So let me take you to the OpManager UI and show you how to create a custom SNMP monitor. For creating a custom SNMP monitor globally, all you need to do is go to the settings, monitor. So under the monitoring, you have performance monitors, which includes all monitors as well as the custom monitors. So create a new one. You need to click on this add monitor here. Under the add monitor, you'll be able to see that SNMP as a bulk SNMP and WMI. So in case if you'd like to add one individual monitor, you can go with SNMP, or in case if you are planning to add multiple monitors at once, you can go with the bulk SNMP. So let me choose a device and create a custom monitor for monitoring the individual instance of CPU. So you can just choose a device and OID. So the CPU utilization OID is available under the host resource map that I have already uploaded. And in case if you like to upload your own map, you can just simply click on this upload map icon and browse and choose the file. Clicking the upload will fetch the information and will associate here, and you will be able to see the map. So here we are with the CPU utilization. So sorry for the inconvenience. So here we are with, this is the OID which will fetch the information on CPU utilization. Let me choose this OID. And like I said, you do have access to configure, choose the functional expression. Since it's a CPU, we won't be needing a functional expression here. And the vendor, it's being in a Microsoft, and or you can also provide your own vendor by clicking on new. Querying the device will fetch the information. You can see there are the multiple instances available for this monitor. So in case if you like to create an individual instance monitor and monitor the individual cores, you can just choose this option, so which will allow you to create each monitor for individual instance, or you can just create a global one. So with this, you'll move on to the next page where you can configure the name as well as the polling interval and the units. Units being the percent, and the store data, it's like having an absolute value as well as the delta value. You can choose it based on your requirement. And the test name, let me provide this name, CPU utilization, for instance. And for enabling the thresholds, you can just simply click on that and configure the thresholds by default, or you can also do it after the creation of the monitor. So you can see that once the monitor is successfully added, you shall be able to see it under the performance monitors page. So here is the monitor that we have created. Clicking on that will take you to the edit monitor page again, and you can manipulate with the existing threshold configuration as well as the polling interval. And for associating it, you just have to click on this icon and you can be able to associate to the list of devices. So once you have associated it, you will be able to see it under the device page. Let me take you to a device and show you how to create a device specific monitor. So in order to create a device specific monitor, let me take you to this device, and under the actions of the performance monitor, you just have to click on add SNMP monitor. So again, it will take you to the same page where we have already seen, and you can choose the OID or upload the MIB based on your requirement. So selecting the OID and creating a custom monitor will allow you to view the monitor on this page. And you can also configure the set of thresholds by clicking on edit icon. So I hope creating a custom monitor based on and how to monitor the instances, I hope that is clear for you. So we'll be moving on to the next topic for the day, that is the WAN link monitoring. So take an example here. We have two development centers, that is one is development center and another one is headquarters, which is connected using a link, which is a WAN link here. And you would like to monitor the status of that WAN link and how to do that. So when it comes to the monitoring the IPSLA metric, that is the WAN link as well as the voice over the IP, we'll discuss about the WAN link first. So when it comes to the WAN link, you can monitor the network path which has high round trip time so that you can take necessary actions to reduce it. Or you can also check if any trace routing or multiple hop is happening while reaching the source and the destination. And you can also configure for the IPSLA traps for the events such as the connection loss, threshold violation, or average payload so that you can get immediate notification when any of these situation happens. So how to add all these WAN monitors? So in order to add a WAN monitor, you just have to go to the, we need to make sure that certain prerequisites that should be available. So make sure that the Cisco router, since all these IPSLA metrics are exclusive for Cisco devices, make sure that your Cisco router is enabled with an IPSLA agent, and also the iOS version should be 12.3 or later. And we will require an SNMP credential which has both read and write community strings, and make sure that the same is configured in the end device. And make sure that you have configured the device to send traps to the OpManager server, which is on port 162. Now since we have met all the prerequisites, so we'll be looking forward to add an IPSLA monitor. So how to create a WAN monitor? Go to the network, select IPSLA, and under the IPSLA you can have WAN monitors as well as the other IPSLA metrics. So choosing the WAN monitor and clicking on plus icon will allow you to configure what monitor you are going to add. Providing the details such as the source and destination IP will able to fetch the WAN link and you'll be able to monitor the same. Similar is the case when it comes to the voice over IP, where you can monitor the strength of the voice communication. So it's like a line where you communicate over the voice, and you can monitor the packet loss, or if any loss of jitter or latency is happening, you can able to monitor. So the parameters that we get to offer you from OpManager end is the jitter monitoring, latency, packet loss, mean opinion score, which is the MOS. So these are the options that we get to offer you for the VoIP monitoring. So let me take you to the OpManager UI and show you how to configure all these metrics. So when it comes to the IPSLA, like I said, you just have to go to the networks and choose IPSLA. So under the IPSLA, like you have mentioned, it's VoIP WAN monitor. So you can choose between the WAN monitor and click on add icon, which is available. Clicking on that add icon will fetch you the information where you can configure the details for creating a new WAN monitor. And you can provide the name there, followed by the source device as well as the source interface, followed by the destination IP. So before you provide the source name and the source interface, kindly make sure that the device that you're planning to monitor using the WAN link is already available in OpManager and being monitored using the SNMP protocol. So once you have provided all this information, clicking on save will create a monitor here, which you will be able to see it under this page. You can select one monitor that we have already created, and you'll be able to see the information of an WAN monitor that we get to monitor. So on the summary page, you can see the information that was fetched at the time of initial discovery, and you can scroll down to view more information such as the RTT, that is round trip time threshold violation history, the round trip time itself, and the availability history. For disabling this monitor, just you have to go to this more icon and choose this disable, or if you would just disable the trace route monitoring, you can do that also. Similarly, if you switch to the VoIP monitoring, you can click on this add icon where you again get to configure the source device, source interface, source port, the destination IP. So again, you'll have to add the make sure that the device is added, the source device is added, and the source interface are being monitored using the SNMP protocol. So once you have added this VoIP monitor, you'll be able to see the VoIP monitor here on this page. And let me take you to one sample VoIP monitor. So this is how the VoIP monitors in summary page going to look like. And if you scroll down, you shall be able to see thresholds that were configured for jitter, MOS, round trip time, packet loss, as well as the latency. And for each individual parameter, you'll be able to see the graph. And you can save these graphs as for your future reference. For configuring the thresholds, I recommend you to go to the settings. Under the settings, you can go to the monitoring. So under the monitoring, you can see that IPSL is available, and you can see VoIP threshold template as well as the WAN threshold template. So you can just provide the configuration of thresholds based on your requirement and save it. So it's a global configuration for all the IPSL monitors that you have added for monitoring. And now we'll be moving on to the next topic for the day, which is the network maps. So under the network maps, we'll be seeing the first map, which is the business view map. So what is the purpose of a business view map? So business view map allows you to group the devices based on a geographical location or a site or a particular floor in an organization. So which allows you to have a better view of what is there in a particular location, and can also be used to group these devices based on the thresholds or any configuration that's available in OpManager. So group devices, you can group, like I said, you can group the devices based on your geographical site, department, or business service. You can add the links, like I have mentioned, you had a development center and a headquarters which is connected through a WAN link. You can literally have a pictorial representation of that and monitor the status of the link as well as the devices. And you can create shortcuts, like you have a US map where your branches, your organization is spread out across multiple cities. So you can have multiple cities shortcuts where clicking on that shortcut will show you the devices that is available under that location. For say example, you have multiple branches in New York as well as the California or Washington, and you just have to view the devices in New York. So you can just create a shortcut for New York, and clicking on the New York icon, you will be able to view the devices that is being monitored under the New York City location. And you can also restrict the group access. So like you have multiple user admins in your OpManager, and you can restrict the access by creating a business view which is related to the only network devices and providing access to only network admins. So let me take you to the OpManager UI and show you how to create a business view map. For creating a business view map, you just have to go to the maps. Clicking on create new will take you to the page where you can just drag and drop the devices which you would like to create for. And for adding the background, you just have to choose from the top and select the background. So in case if you would like to create a link between them, all you need to do is just go on the top of that particular device and there will be an icon. So if you choose that icon and drag that to the next device, you do have access to choose the interfaces or the IPSLA monitors. You can just choose the interface and save the action. So, and there is also a lot of customization available which may allow you to have a better pictorial representation of your organization. So you can just choose between the default icons or custom icons, or in case if you like to change the name of the device, you can also do that. For adding the shortcuts, just make sure that you have clicked this icon, which is for adding the shortcuts, providing a name, saying New York, and which will inherit the properties from an existing map. So you have created already a New York map, and I'll be using that as a shortcut here. So like it's available here. You can also create a link in between two shortcuts, or you can also add multiple shortcuts. So once you save this configuration, one moment, let me just provide a new name. Saving this configuration will allow you to create it, and you'll be able to see it under the map section, which is here. So you can just view the status of the particular device by having an overlook, and you can also create all these as a dashboard and view it directly from your NOC server instead of going to individual devices. So like I said, we have this particular location. Just clicking on that shortcut will take you to the internal business view map that we have configured for. And for creating the user restrictions, you can just go to the settings under the basic settings, user management. So under the user management, like you can see, there is a network admin, and you have created a business view based on only the network devices. So under the scope, you do have access to choose. You can select the business view and provide only the access for that business. So this network admin will only have access to the devices which are available under that business view, restricting his privileges only to those network devices instead of manipulating with rest of the devices that you are already monitoring in OpManager. And the second type of the network maps that we offer from OpManager is Google and Zoho maps. So in order to access them, you just can directly jump into the maps, where you can see that Google and Zoho Maps is available. So Google Map comes with a purchased API. So in case if you have an API, just provide this information and upload the map file. You'll be able to see the maps. And in case if you do not have a Google Map API, we offer you a free map which is from Zoho. So in order, this is the map that we have, and in order to add a device, you can just double click on that, and you'll be able to choose the devices that you get to monitor. So you can just select the devices based on a geographical locations and create a view. And the third type of network maps that we have is building racks and 3D flow views. So it's basically like you have a situation where you have stacked switches and you would like to show it represent in a rack view. So you can create a rack view in OpManager by associating the number of racks and the devices to which it's ordered. So you can have a better view and understanding as a system administrator or a network administrator. Similar is the case with the 3D flow view map, where you can create a pictorial representation of how the devices are aligned in your flow. So let me take you to the OpManager UI and show you how to create one so that you can have a better clarification on that. So this is how you create a flow map. You can just add a path, or in case if you just leave it as an aisle, you can do that. Or in case if you'd like to create a wall between them, just you can create a wall. So you can also increase the floor size by providing the information here. And once you save it, you shall be able to see a map like this. I have already created a test map for you for a better view. So this is a floor map that we have already created. You shall be able to see this information once you have created it. So this is just a pictorial representation of the devices that are available in a particular floor, and you can have more information by looking at just a glance. So similar is the case with when it comes to the rack view, where you can just click on this create new view and create new rack view map, and you can just drag and drop the devices that you would like to add. You can also manipulate with the height of the rack, say 24, and in case if you'd like to have a rear view of the rack also, you can just use it. So this is how the representation is going to be, and once you save this configuration, you'll be able to see that under the OpManager UI in the name of the name that you have configured to create. So under the rack view, I have a rack view for you. So this is a server rack view, and where the devices are stacked up, and all this information can also be viewed from the dashboard. So I hope the creating a network map was informative. Now we have the next topic, which is the last topic for the day, that is network management, which includes dashboard as well as the widgets. So basically, let me explain you what exactly is the dashboard in OpManager. So dashboard is something like a representation of all the necessary information that you would like to have it at a glance when you log in into the OpManager UI. So instead of going and checking individual device health status, being a NOC server admin, you shall be able to view all the information at a glance when you log in. So with the help of customized dashboard, you can view the total traffic, for example, for all the servers, or in case if there is a widget we have which allows you to view the devices which is using more CPU or memory so that you can take necessary actions. Or also you can have a widget which shows you the active alarms and you can take necessary actions based on the devices which get displayed on the active alarms. And for downtime reports also, you can extract it and you can have a complete IT summary of the entire devices that you get to monitor in the OpManager. And what are the also additional benefits when you create a dashboard? So when you create a dashboard, you can have multiple dashboard created, such as for one for the servers, one for the networks, as well as one for the complete general data. So you can provide an access to only for server team to access those dashboards and have information from them. And when it comes to the network dashboard, you can just have network admins to access those dashboards. Similar is the general ID. So let me show you with a dashboard which will create for network devices alone and will provide access only for the network team. For in order to create a dashboard, you just have to click on this dashboard icon where you have an overview, network servers, multiple available. For creating a custom one, you just have to click on the dashboard and choose new dashboard. So once you will have to provide which is for network admins, and clicking on next will take you to the page where you get to choose the widgets. By default we offer multiple widgets and you can also create custom widgets using the hyperlinks. So we will be using all devices, that is for all alarms, and another dashboard with widget with for all utilization, which is for bandwidth, interfaces and interface traffics. And if you want, we can also create a real-time traffic widget. So with this view, when you have selected all the necessary widgets for your dashboard, you move to the next page where you can provide the access to which user should be able to view the details of this dashboard. So since we have created a network dashboard here, we just have to choose the network admin and create it. So once you are in, you'll be able to see that the dashboard was created and you can just choose the network admin dashboard. So this dashboard will have information for accessing or configuring a widget. You just have to click on this edit and choose the device category being router, and it will only allow you to create or view the data of the routers, or if it's just this switch, you can do that. Or in case if you have to filter all the devices in the base of business view, like you have created a business view only for the network devices, you can also do that. So once you save the configuration, you'll be able to see the alarms only from those devices. Similar is the interfaces. You can just configure it and filter based on the groups, like the interface that we have created, and save the configuration. So you'll be able to only view the interface by traffic only for those interfaces. And in case if you want more information like real-time traffic, you just have to click on edit, select a particular device and the interface which you would like to monitor, and you'll be able to see the real-time graph once it starts collecting. So similarly, I'll show you something for the servers also. For viewing the server graphs, you just have to click on, we already have a server based where you get to see the server specific details, and these restrictions can be done by clicking on edit, and you can just provide access to the only for server admins. So that's all for the today's session. I hope the session was informative. So with this, we're moving on to the question and answer session. So I invite one of the senior panelists. His name is Mr. Anil. He'll be taking over for the question and answer session.
Hello everyone, my name is Anil. I'm one of the panelists and one of the senior technical consultant for OpManager. And today we have few questions that were posted during the webinar. Right? Today I'm here to discuss few of them and few of most common questions that are asked related to today's topic. So let's get started with the first one. The first question is like we have desktops connected to switch ports that shut down every day at specific period of time. So I want only traffic details of the interface, not its up and down status. So as you know, like whenever you add a device to OpManager, it automatically discovers the available interfaces or the ports, all right, for the particular device using SNMP. And it automatically starts monitoring the availability of the particular port as well as the traffic details, all right, based on SNMP. And in case if you'd like to have just interface traffic details and do not want the up and down alerts for that particular ports, we have an option to disable the status pole, all right. So just give me a minute, let me just show you in the UI. So in case if you just want to do it for a specific device or specific interface or switch port, we can just go ahead and access that particular interface and disable the status pole by going to threshold settings, and you have an option called status poll details, right? In case if you want to disable the status polling for this, or if you don't want to monitor the availability of that particular interface, you can just go ahead and hit disable, all right, and just go ahead and save that, so that this particular interface up and down status will not be reported, all right, and the interface data collection, interface traffic and other details will be automatically collected, right? And in case if you want to do it for many interfaces, all right, so we can do it based on templates. We have interface templates. So based on the type of template that you want to disable that threshold, you can just go ahead and use the interface templates and disable the status port by going through the same way, all right. If we just get into that template, you have an option called status pole over here. And in case if you want to just do it for a specific group of interfaces, so we have interface groups, and wherein we can disable the status pole for that particular group of interfaces by just editing that particular group over here, okay. Right, so let's get to the next question. So when discovering interfaces, is there a limit on the license? We don't have any limit for number of interfaces to be discovered in OpManager or monitored in OpManager. So OpManager licensing is based on number of devices. However, we have a technical limitation, the product limitation, like the professional edition of OpManager can scale up to 10,000 interfaces or 1,000 devices, whereas enterprise edition, right, again, it depends on the number of probes that you deploy. And so basically so there is a limitation on number of interfaces that can be monitored based on the technical aspect. How to configure thresholds for IPSLA metrics? So as Sri would have explained, we have a few critical parameters that we monitor for WAN RTT and VoIP monitoring, which is nothing but Cisco IPSLA monitoring in OpManager. So basically for WAN RTT monitoring, the important threshold is the round trip time. So basically we can set the thresholds for the round trip time. So just you need to go to settings, monitoring, and where it says IPSLA, you have an option to define the thresholds over here. Like we have a WAN threshold template. And where you can set the threshold for the round trip time. So you can define the upper limit and the lower limit for that particular value, round trip time, and you can define the notification profiles over here. And similarly, you can also define the thresholds for VoIP monitors also. So you can different metrics for VoIP would be MOS, jitter, latency, packet loss, round trip time, etc. over here. So excuse me, if you define the thresholds over here, and this will be applicable for all the monitors that you create. either for WAN or VoIP. So the next question is, I would like to disable the modules which I'm not using from dashboard. Is it possible? As you already know, OpManager comes with different add-ons. All right. Whereas the first one being NetFlow add-on, which is used for flow analysis. So real-time flow monitoring based on the flows that are exported from the devices. And the other one is network configuration management, and the other one is IP address management and firewall log management. So these are the modules, other modules that can be enabled within OpManager. And in case if you don't want to show them, in case if you don't want to show those modules in the UI, you have an option to go ahead and disable them. So in case if you just don't want to see the flow analysis, or you don't want to see the config management, you can just go ahead and uncheck that particular box over here, the particular module, and hit save. So that particular module will not be listed in the dashboard basically. So whenever you go to the dashboard, you will not see that particular one, the module listed over here. And the next one, how do I disable hardware monitoring for the individual device? So we monitor hardware based on SNMP for few vendors like Cisco and Juniper. And in case you don't want to monitor, in case if you don't want to monitor any hardware metrics for the particular device, we should be able to do that for one device alone. So let me get into the device and show you the settings. So you have an option called disable now over here. So if there is a green checkbox, that means the hardware is being monitored for that particular device. In case if you don't want to monitor the hardware, you can just go ahead and hit disable now, so that the monitoring will be disabled for that particular device alone. And the next one, the next question is like, I have created a couple of dashboards to display various data. However, I want to mark my favorite dashboard as default. How can I do that? So by default, there are a few dashboards that come as default. So whenever you access the dashboard, you'll have an option to show what dashboard to be displayed whenever you log into OpManager. And in case if you don't want to have a specific dashboard displayed every time, and you want a specific dashboard that you have created, the custom ones to be displayed whenever you log into OpManager, you need to access that particular dashboard, and you have an option, a star icon to the right side. If you just hit the star icon, that particular dashboard will be set as default. So whenever the user logs into OpManager, and that particular dashboard will be shown as the first one. And the next one, can I add a new interface to the group that was already created? So as Sri would have already explained, we have interface grouping from the recent build, so that where you can group different number of interfaces, all right, and monitor them as a group. So in case if you have added already interface group already, and you just want to add a few interfaces for the particular group, we have an option to define, and we have an option to define a criteria. So for example, the group that I've created is based on interface name contains Ethernet. So any interface name that is discovered with the name as Ethernet will be added, was added to that particular group. In case if we want to add any other criteria for this particular group, you can just select any criteria that matches with the particular interface. and just if we hit next, it will show the list of interfaces. So we can just select the required interface and add it to the particular group. And with this, these are few questions that were posted during the webinar. And in case if you have any questions, you can just feel free to contact us, all right, through these channels. You can access our YouTube. If you're looking out for more help, you can access our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/OpManager Tech Videos, where we have few OpManager related technical videos posted over there, and which also includes these recorded sessions of these online training sessions. In case if you have missed any earlier sessions, you can just access the YouTube videos over there. And help.opmanager.com is our help document, and in case if you require any technical assistance or configuration assistance, you can go through this particular document. And forums.managerian.com/opmanager is our community portal, where a lot of technical discussions happen between OpManager users. And still, if you require any assistance, you can just feel free to send an email to opmanager-support@managerian.com, where our technical experts will assist you, right, with all your queries. And in case if you require any urgent assistance, you can directly ring us on these mentioned numbers. And the next training schedule will happen next week, same day, same time. And the topic covered will be fault management and IT automation. And just want to give you an update that we have IT operations management workshops happening in September, last week of September, in 2 locations, New York and Chicago. And the event would be on September 24th in New York and September 26th on Chicago. And in case if you, where our technical experts will be assisting you with OpManager best practices and can help you with any technical queries that you have related to OpManager, and which is free item workshop, right, on 26th September and 24th September in New York and Chicago respectively. You can search our management events page and register for that particular event in case if you are interested. And I hope the session was helpful in understanding the functionality of OpManager related to maps and network device monitoring. And in case if you have any questions, just feel free to contact us. Thank you all. Have a great day.